Hello and welcome to The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Rakhee, Bakshee. In this show, as you know, we keep talking to senior political leaders, and today the guest with us is a senior vice president of BJP, also part of think tank of RSS, Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Let's begin, of course, with Maharashtra, since this is in context. What do you feel as the polling is getting over? What's your sense?
Well, even at the cost of some kind of a risk of being appearing like I am boasting kind of, but to tell you the fact, the BJP is certainly going to form a government in Maharashtra beyond doubt. And there are 2-3 reasons why I am saying so. Firstly, there was a huge governance backlog which people suffered for more than 15 years in continuation. In fact, the change could have happened in 2009 itself, but for some reason or the other, it didn't. So, what was to happen maybe some 5 years before is certainly going to happen this time. This is point number.
But I would say there are more challenges. I mean, you know what I mean?
I'll explain them, but certainly there is going to be a change, and the BJP is going to be at the vanguard of the change. We are going to form the government, that is beyond doubt. There are 2 reasons why I am saying so. Basically, if you analyze the trend of voting all along last maybe 3-4 years, let's take the example of Bengal, or for that matter UP. People were not very comfortable in guessing that the Samajwadi Party will get an absolute majority in Uttar Pradesh.
Yeah.
Likewise, in Bengal, Mamata Banerjee's party, people were not expecting that she will get a thumping majority. But they got both these parties. Why I am saying so? Because now the changing trend is that to whomsoever people want to give a mandate, they gave it without any hesitation.
But someone was asked that, you know, you are a national party, and at the regional level, at state level, of course, a friend that you lost, maybe Shiv-Sena, was a more dominant party in some sense. Maybe you can throw more light on that.
No, that was not the case. In fact, I can tell you the examples of Assam and Bihar and even Odisha for that matter, where, see, you know, all this happened in 90s when BJP cultivated the idea of coalition politics and joined hands with several other parties, and our governments in 96, in 98 and 1999 as well were coalition governments. So that time we had to sacrifice some of our popular bases to the friendly parties. And in Bihar, while we were stronger in any day than the Samata party of the previous days or the Janata Dal United of today, or in Assam for that matter, the Assam Gana Parishad was just not on the horizons in 1980. It got itself formed in 1980s, early 80s.
But it took off as a region.
I know, but then Jansangh was there right since 1960s. So we had some popular bases which we had to sacrifice, and we did it purposely because we wanted to win new friends. Same thing happened in Maharashtra for that matter. There were many areas like in Thane district, the district to which I belong to, and in areas like Vidarbha, for example, or the North Maharashtra, where we sacrificed our popular bases because we wanted our friendlier parties to be kept in a good humor. They didn't realize that, and they took us for granted.
So finally, is it sad? I mean, somewhere you have expressed that kind of...
Yeah, of course. I mean, parting of friends is always very sad for that matter, and therefore we are not happy, which is why very magnanimously our party leadership, and more so the Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi, decided as a mark of homage to Bala Saheb Thackeray not to criticize the Shiv Sena.
Yeah, sure. But still we saw some kind of that heat going on, of course, there as well, which happens in maybe political...
Yeah, because at the grassroots level, see, we can decide for ourselves, but we cannot shut the mouths of the others. And if they keep talking, we remaining silent would have given some wrong signals.
So at this stage, very crucial question is, what if, of course, you're very confident that you'll get the absolute numbers, I mean, or the number that you really desire. But what if there is some crunch? Then would you go for, I mean, options like Shiv Sena that you've parted with, or maybe NCP, which is a silent kind of partner somewhere?
I think this question could be best answered by other political parties. Firstly, we are very confident, and therefore this sounds like a very hypothetical question. Number 2, joining hands with either the Congress or the Nationalist Party is just beyond imagination. Nobody can even think of it. So it is ruled out. Absolutely ruled out. Insofar as Manase and Shiv Sena are concerned, if in the event of we falling short, which I am sure is not going to be the situation, and I have given some reasons, some logic behind it, then it is the question for them whether they would like to support their once upon a time friendly party or not.
Let's look at it a little more specifically. What really would change for BJP? Is it the high-tech rallies that Prime Minister Modi has addressed? Is it some kind of social awakening in certain communities, certain parts that you're confident about? How would you really look at the reasons of your confidence?
No, it's an important question, because now there is a kind of insatiated hunger for good governance. People are going to places, they are seeing how Gujarat has developed, how Madhya Pradesh has good governance mechanism, how in Chhattisgarh, for example, the public distribution system is working in a superb manner, how in Goa, for example, petrol and diesel prices are lower than in any other state. So they want all these things also to happen in Maharashtra, and therefore the only party which can credibly talk about good governance is the Bharatiya Janata Party. So there is no reason for them not to vote for BJP.
Some of the criticism that you faced as a party was that, too much of Gujarat was being talked about, and, and also that Prime Minister Modi is Prime Minister of the country, and maybe he was focusing more time at a state level election.
To be very fair to Mr. Narendra Modi, he never referred to Gujarat. Let me tell you. I mean, people like me might have referred to Gujarat, but not Gujarat alone. Even now I refer to Chhattisgarh and then Madhya Pradesh and several other states. I have been giving examples of Himachal Pradesh when Mr. Dhumal was in power. We converted Shimla into a plastic-free city. It was the only state during our regime which talked of carbon credit. Tell me which other state has gone to that level? No state. And then if we talk about our performance, is there anything wrong about it? After all, the politics these days is the politics of performance.
So what you're saying is very interesting.
Perform or perish. That is what the new generation wants to...
Very interesting thing that you're saying. But let's go back a little, and when then the Chief Minister, either Mr. Vilasrao Deshmukh or somebody else from their parties, always said that Mumbai should be like Shanghai. So, selling dreams in Maharashtra always. How would you look at only selling dreams or making it more realistic for the people of Maharashtra?
No, see, in politics, every other election is all about selling dreams. I mean, let us realize that and let us accept it. Point is, everybody is in the market and everybody is talking about several tall promises kind of, but then whose promises really bring some credibility? That is the moot question.
So are you looking at some of the unnoticed, regions, factors? For example, in your manifesto, and everybody talked about it, you did not mention Vidarbha as a separate state, that kind of plan that...
Well, I mean, unnecessarily these issues are being raked up. Let me explain this a little elaborately. See, the question of smaller states has been there in the public discourse for decades together. When Jansangh came into existence, we advocated the idea of smaller states, and we really believe in it. It is a conviction at our end that we believe in the idea of smaller states. Now, at the establishment, at the formation of Maharashtra itself, Vidarbha was somewhere a question. And maybe you are aware that Marotrao Kannamwar became the first Chief Minister of Maharashtra, in a way because he belonged to Vidarbha. So to satisfy the aspirations there, the Congress leadership that time decided to have Mr. Kannamwar, a little lesser known politician from Maharashtra, and he was made the Chief Minister. Now, let me tell you that the policy of BJP continues what it was. I mean, if there is one single party which took the idea of smaller states to its logical end and created 3 smaller states, not 1 and 2.
True.
It was the BJP. We created consensus.
And that's why these questions are actually.
Therefore, what I am trying to explain is that it's an elaborate process. It's not just because it is there in the manifesto it will happen, or it is not in the manifesto it will not happen. Tell me, when Chhattisgarh was carved out of Madhya Pradesh, was Madhya Pradesh BJP manifesto?
Actually, we would like to understand some of the more reasons and maybe try and deconstruct many of these things. But we are taking a very short break right now on The Quest. You're watching on Rajya Sabha TV, and we are in conversation with Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. Keep watching. Welcome back to the show. You're watching The Quest with me, Rakhee Bakshee, and we are right now talking to Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. Very interesting conversation going on here, especially on Maharashtra, which will take for a while and then go to other issues. So looking at Chief Minister, I mean, you have a name in mind already. There are certain names, flagging off in the newspapers otherwise.
Well, why? I mean, I can understand the curiosity in the minds of the media persons, but really speaking, when a party which has a history of more than 50, 60 years, and as BJP also more than 35 years, And there are umpteen number of leaders who have proven their track record, and also have unquestionable abilities, whether parliamentary abilities or administrative abilities. And we were in the government in the past, not too long ago. So I think there is no dearth of leadership at all. And there are several leaders, and we will pick and choose, and the parliamentary board will take a call as and when it is required.
So as a veteran politician, you're not committing, but let's look at other issues, of course, and now talk about the party itself as how it's faring. I mean, especially since, you know, you've been associated and you are from RSS. So let's look at this whole interaction which is going on. What kind of role right now RSS is playing in terms of whether it's guiding, instructing, or trying to maintain things?
Well, RSS has been our inspirational head of the family. And they naturally, one has to understand the relationship, the institutional design and the organizational relationship when we talk about the Sangha and the Sangha model of organizations. See, unlike the communists, where the Communist Party is at the center and all other organizations, front organizations or whatever you may call them, they are around that. Here, RSS being the mother organization is at the center, and we are all around that, whether the ABVP, the BMS, the BJP, and we all enjoy complete autonomy.
Okay.
There absolutely is no question of any control. But yes, as and when we require, there is a source of guidance for us. They do keep inspiring us because of...
No, I'll give you certain examples. For example, we are very happy that you are part of this new team of Mr. Amit Shah, the BJP president right now. The fact that Mr. Ram Madhav has now also come into the fold of BJP as a party. Certain things are happening. I mean, where RSS is not only in the background, strictly speaking, but kind of coming to the fore in terms of either cooperating or either kind of, you know, merging or trying to show a mixed kind of amalgamation. You can explain better, maybe.
No, but then, see, there is nothing to raise eyebrows about. We after all, belong to one single ideological family. So now, if one person crosses from one room and enters into other room in a house of maybe 5, 10 or whatever the number of rooms, should it become a very newsy and a spicy kind of
No, we are just talking. We are just talking. And so how would you look at the party itself? I mean, I'm also talking about RSS. I mean, as we've seen now, it's very active, and we in fact have certain admiration for it, the way it has worked at the grassroots level. Today is the world of social media. You've taken actively a lot of interest in it. So this new generation kind of workers and your traditional folk. So is there any conflict that you're watching?
Not at all. I mean, we have been believing in continuity with change. And every Indian should believe, in fact, because that is the way of the world. We continue and still we change. And to have that kind of judgment as to where should we continue and where should we change, that is all about leadership and the right kind of leadership. And happily, collectively, the kind of decision making happens, the kind of leadership we offer to the society at large. I think continuity with change has been the principle all along. It is not, I mean, we believe more in evolution than in revolution.
No, as you rightly said, you talked about good governance, something that you head also as a cell, and something that BJP as a party and the government also is harping a lot about. What change would you see? What is the roadmap that you're working on?
See, basically 2-3 things have happened. Number one, as I am saying, that people have now become a part of an aspirational society. In India, what we have is an aspirational society. Earlier, for example, it would not have mattered, but now they have tested what is good life. With the advance of education, with the advancement of greater urbanization maybe, with the advancement of media, where the exposure levels are pretty much higher than what they were maybe 15 years before. So now people understand what it means by good life.
But with good life comes challenges, you know, and you understand the socio-economic pressures.
And they are ready to face the challenges. You know, I mean, people want results. And there lies the test of governance. Without results, if you just keep on indulging in slogan mongering, assuring certain things and then not working upon them, things are not going to be in your favor at all. As
you rightly said, and taking a cue from what you've said, look at the global situation, look at what India is facing, crunch in terms of socio-economic problems. We saw this whole drought thing being discussed, whether petrol, diesel prices going up. or inflation, which is hurting the common man. How do you think governance and politics can coexist and still go ahead?
No, that is why I am saying that politics now is not so much about identity issues, but it is more about performance. I am not saying that identity issues are totally wiped out. It never happens like this. I mean, you switch on and then this era starts and then you switch off and then that era ends. It doesn't happen that way. It's a gradual process.
So you think populism will thin away or not?
Of course, it will have to be thinned away, because people are not going to lured by all kinds of this identity symbolism. They want results.
True.
You know, in the modern day generation, a young collegian once told me, he asked me, Vinayji, do you know, he was a member of one of our training programs, young lad of maybe 20s. He told me, are you aware what our generation wants? I said, I am a little aware, but you may enlighten me. I am ready to get enlightened. Please tell me what exactly your generation desires. He said, it's very simple. We want 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I said, it sounds like a puzzle. Please explain. He said, it is very clear. We want a 5-figure salary, a 4-wheeler, a 3-bedroom hall kitchen, 2 kids and 1 wife. Now, one may say this is very materialistic, but one may also admire the kind of clarity that the lad is having. I mean, in the olden days, people in early 20s may not be that clear in their minds, right or wrong.
To maybe get their
Correct,
own
right
wisdom.
or wrong. That's a different story. Let us not be judgmental about it. But the amount of clarity that the younger generation has also, in a way, promotes the politics of performance. They are not going to listen to your sermons and speeches anymore.
Isn't that a pressure? Because, I mean, you've written in your book also, you talked about democratization of political parties itself. So do you think that churning is happening or will happen? Because we have seen this traditional mode of politics, electoral politics all around, where you have in Uttar Pradesh, for example, different kind of politics, or in Bihar, a different kind of politics. We just saw some results, which was not very good news for you as a party. But
so,
things are happening.
It cannot be straight-jacketed. I mean, you cannot just find a pattern, because India is such a diversified kind of a society as such, and we have different patterns coming into the play at different occasions in different states. So you cannot have a straight-jacketed kind of a view. But yes, with rapid urbanization, with advancement of technology, with advancement of education, earlier the kind of notions that we used to have about how the politics will play up, how the society will react to issues, I think they are under tremendous
population change. As a major challenge here. We have
of course, population is a major challenge, but what I am repeatedly saying is that people want results, and the politics will have to be result oriented, and at the same time you will have to be connected with the masses all along. I mean, it is not for no reason that our Prime Minister Narendra Modi believes in what he describes as people sourcing. It is not crowd. You know, crowd is very unorganized and crowd is very amorphous at times.
Exactly.
But he believes in people sourcing, and therefore his idea of that portal called MyGov, it's a brilliant idea, and people are responding like anything. It is the surest way of making people participate in the process of governance.
So governance is something which BJP really is harping on. We'll talk about that again a little bit more in the next segment. Right now we're taking a very short break again. You're watching The Quest and we are talking to Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show, and we have this very interesting conversation going on with Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, the National Vice President of BJP that we're talking to right now. You are also into training, and something which is really very good, I would say, and training of elected representatives. We just saw when the government took over, the MPs were trained, things like that. So tell us more about that how is it really going to help? For example, we've seen the parliament, and again, session by session, we see disruptions and everything happening, despite orientations programs happening within the parliament itself. So do you think these things matter?
The politics and democratic politics, and that too when it goes through the first past the post system, where 51 is 100 and 49 is 0. I mean, that is how the democracy functions. As it happens, people tend to believe that what is more important is your electability. It is important, beyond doubt. But along with electability, you also need to have some amount of ability to deliver. without an ability to deliver, even if you become a municipal corporator for that matter, or an MLA or an MP and then a minister, how are you going to deliver? Not at all. Which is why we are witnessing, and we have been witnessing all along, that the bureaucracy rules the roost and not the elected representative, because they don't know. And many times they don't know that they don't know. Exactly. And therefore they believe that they know everything, and in fact they don't know. You know, Advani ji used to give an example of a poem, and this was in 1980 he first gave this example. It's a Hindi poem by Shail Chaturvedi, where he says, it's a very satirical, humorous poem. He says, नए नए मंत्री बने एक सज्जन, जब पहली बार गाड़ी में बैठे तब उन्होंने ड्राइवर को कहा आज गाड़ी मैं चलाऊंगा। ड्राइवर बेचारा डर का मारा बोला तो हुजूर मैं उतर जाऊंगा। भला क्यों? क्योंकि ये कार है, सरकार नहीं जो भगवान भरोसे चलाई जा सकती है। So you can run a government with भगवान भरोसे, but you cannot run a car because it requires training. And therefore people into governance, people into people's representation need to undergo some training. Our parliaments, both the houses of parliament, or for that matter state legislatures, they do conduct training. But the amount of interest that is required to be generated, normally parties fail. I am very happy and I take pride in saying this, that BJP is the only party which has a training department, couple of institutions serving the cause of training, and we believe that unless you develop your human resources, the deficit of motivation cannot be done away with. Unfortunately, there is a huge crisis of purpose. Why am I in politics?
No, but I think you as a party and Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, of course, is harping a lot on that and we're watching. But do you think it will really matter? For example, we've seen in the past the MPs enjoying a lot of privileges, the MPs not really attending the House so much, and all kinds of things which are discussed also.
You are very right. I'm telling you why this happens. Because there is no mechanism to tell them with holding their shoulders tightly, ki boss, why are you here? You're not here simply to enjoy privileges, that apart. These are the facilitations that the system provides you. But then the purpose is the larger good of the people. Is there any mechanism by way of which you can tell this to them? Unless there is a very ideal kind of dialogue between the party leaders and the party cadre. Normally it doesn't happen. Our lives are very hectic these days. And therefore training gives you the sense of purpose. It does away with the crisis of motivation. At the same time, in BJP, we deal with some kind of an information enrichment through training, because you need to know laws, you need to know intricacies of legislation, you need to know several other things, and that knowledge which you have not acquired so far. Yeah. At the same time, it tells you about the skills. Talking skill, speaking skill, writing skill. Yeah. I mean, appearing on a television camera, you require some skill.
Sure, and I think you're faring very well. But to take a little further, maybe to take a little back, I would say, again, coming back to this whole electoral thing. Right now, when we are talking here on the Quest, 2 states, of course, have gone to the elections. The pollings have happened. And BJP's future, of course, in terms of the immediate future in 2 states would really matter. How would you look at this whole critical juncture where, in some states you did not fare so well? And now you're looking at these 2 states. So how would you really look at repositioning, so to say, in the regional sector better yourselves?
Well, in a way, as I have been saying, politics of performance is going to be put to test. Because politics of performance per se may not emerge victorious, because the system is the older one, where populism also thrives, or it gives some room for populism, identity issues and things like that. Whether they outdo the impact of governance, or whether we in a way do away with...
For example, what happened in Bihar, for example, it kind of awakened everybody to a new kind of scenario again, where suddenly you saw some parties which were rivals coming together. Maybe somebody started talking, it could happen elsewhere. So in Maharashtra, for example, there are pockets which are different in nature. So how would you look at this whole... Again, churning is the word.
No, but I think if you consider, forget Bihar and UP, there were tactical reasons, and our opponents came together, they joined hands, they singled BJP out and kind of forced some kind of a majestic isolation on BJP, and the arithmetic work in a different way, which is why we didn't do very well in the by-elections recently. But Maharashtra, whether Maharashtra or Haryana or several other states, I believe people are going to vote for performance. I am aware, deeply conscious of the fact that when we talk of politics of performance, when we talk of governance, we need to create greater awareness and consolidation of public opinion around these issues.
Yeah,
if we
you're
fail
trying to
into
make
that,
it policy driven actually, but let's not forget that the core value somewhere has been of Hindutva. I mean, you understand the place you're coming from. How would you not really look at this core USP Hindutva force that you carry?
What is Hindutva? Hindutva is bringing happiness to all. That's it. For me and for anybody who belong to our ideology, Hindutva is not anything dealing with religion and all kinds of rituals and things like that. Okay. Hindutva is bringing happiness to all.
So it's more progressive now, as I can see.
No, it has been progressive. Unfortunately, the people who were looking at it from their jaundiced eyes never saw clearly, which is why it got more bad name than deeper understanding about it, unfortunately.
So people who distance themselves from the party for certain things, for example, whenever the talk of Ram Janmabhoomi initially and then Uniform Civil Code, recently Article 370, when you talk about Kashmir, all these things sometimes come up, and that's where certain...
What is wrong in it? I mean, if Ram Janmabhoomi is going to inspire crores of people of this country, if Article 370, I mean, doing away with it is going to bring kind of a level playing field, because in Kashmir, for example, you cannot open many industries and people over there are going to suffer for that. If the common civil code is going to bring greater amount of happiness and joy in the lives of our Muslim sisters, is there anything wrong about it? And our fathers of the Constitution,
you're saying. It's all inclusive.
It is all inclusive. Unfortunately, it has been portrayed very wrongly by our critics, and since they were kind of in dominant positions everywhere, whether in academia or in the media, we were at the receiving end, very unfortunate.
So as we're wrapping up, one critical question again, and looking at, let's say internationally, Prime Minister Modi is visiting countries like Japan. He visited USA, of course, is considered a success now, but a lot of expectations globally and internally we have challenges. So how would you look at this, this road ahead again, where one takes ahead, contributions from abroad or collaborations and then tackling the grassroots level problems here?
See, I believe Mr. Modi believes in dealing with the issues from a position of strength. And we have a strong mandate in the parliament. And we are, of course, we want to take Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas.
We have neighbors who are sometimes troublesome.
Fine, but he has been very accommodative. He wants to consult, he wants to take everybody along. And when I say everybody, internally, all parties for that matter, he thanked very magnanimously to all the previous prime ministers, all his predecessors, and even the opposition parties for that matter. So we want cooperation from every quarter. Everybody is patriot that way. So we don't believe, we don't believe in doubting the intentions of the others. We hope that they will see reason, they will join us, and what is true nationally is also true internationally.
So as we're finally wrapping up, from you, Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, you've been a scholar, writer, politician, and God knows what good future holds ahead for you. But it's been very interesting talking to you. What your quest for the future? Anything that you'd like to say?
Well, everybody like me would perhaps want the polity and the democratic polity to be reformed, so that we are not kind of constrained by the politics of populism, and we can really take ahead the country and the people at large through the path of politics of development, politics of progress, politics of performance.
Thanks a lot for talking to us here on The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV, and that was Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe for you. He talked on a range of issues and it was very interesting conversation. Hope you enjoyed watching this particular edition of The Quest. Thanks for watching. Namaskar and bye-bye.